Hi, this is Nahid. I've had several people who wanted to attend our positive intelligence update today and were not able to. So I promised I would make a recording of the important parts. And so the reason that we are doing this, I've been doing positive intelligence since 2020. It is now 2025. And the thing to know is that probably about 18 months ago, Positive Intelligence released the beta version of their new updated app. And that app had incorporated all the feedback that they had been getting from the very beginning about people's experience as they were using the app, people's experience as they were learning. And they took all of that feedback and incorporated it into a new app. And a lot of the concepts, pretty much all of the concepts are the same. The basic model is the same. It's still based on Shirzad's book. But the way that you interact with the application, the way you learn is very different. And I went through the beta release and I loved the learning experience. It was so much more positive and so much easier to stay engaged and keep practicing with the tool. So the reason I'm sharing this with you now, though, is because they've had the app released now for the past year, and we are at the deadline of when people who took the boot camp, and I know many of you have taken the boot camp with me way back in 21 or 22, uh, the old app is no longer going to be available in active form. So if you want new content, if you want new material, if you'd like to re-engage with the program, this is really the time to do it, because this is when I'll be doing a refresh boot camp with the new app. So you'll really be able to experience it and understand it fully from the beginning and use it. So before we start, I'd like you to do an exercise. I'd like you to think about, maybe in the last week or so, think of one of your best moments and think of one of your worst moments. So, or one of your relatively better moments and one of your relatively worst moments. And I'd like you to compare the two of them. And if you see this table here on the screen, there's a few things I'd like you to think about related to each of those moments. So just really simple bullets. So what was the situation for each, your best moment and your worst? What was your mental state? What were the thoughts that were going through your head? Were you maybe mentally clear, or were you very distracted, spinning, confused? Were there stories that you were telling yourself? So what was going on in your head? What were your thoughts? Also, what was going on in your body? What were your emotions? What were you feeling? And how intense were those feelings? What was your energy like? So just a couple bullets on that for both your best moment and your worst moment. And then if the situation warranted it, did you say anything or do anything in that moment? And what did you say and do? And then if other people were involved in that moment, how did they respond to you? And if they weren't, just what happened? So we did this in our class today, and we had a lot of people share their best moments and their worst moments. And what most people felt were that at their worst moments, they were very triggered. And in their best moments, they were feeling pretty calm and peaceful. That's really important, because the question that it brings is, what kind of results do you get in your best moments and your worst moments? And generally, in our worst moments, we don't get very good results. And in our better moments, we get much better results. People respond to us more positively. We get more work done. We do better. And so it really begs a question: what causes moments to be better or worse for you? Is it the outside event, or is it your internal state? And again, we had a discussion about this in class. And the general consensus, which I absolutely 100% agree with, is that it's your internal state. Because you could be in a very challenging situation and be at your best and feel really great about it. And that could be one of your best moments. And you can be in a very innocuous situation, like just sitting on your couch, but just get really grumpy and have it be one of your worst moments. So the question that we ask is, what would be different about your life if you could have more best moments and fewer worst moments? Sometimes we don't think that's in our control, and especially if we believe that what causes those moments to be better or worse is outside of ourselves. But if we think wait a minute, our internal state is actually causing that, then it gets intriguing because we have a little bit more influence over what our life is like. And what if you had a very practical tool that gave you the ability to have more better moments, fewer worst moments, and then when you did fall into those worst moments, lower the intensity of those negative reactions and also lower the duration of how long you felt bad or triggered after something negative happened. PQ is the most practical tool that I have come across that helps people make those changes. And it affects everything. It affects your performance at work. It affects your happiness. It affects all of your relationships, your work relationships, and your home relationships, makes you a better parent. So the tools are simple. They're easy to understand. When you have the app, you're practicing the tools every day. And because you're practicing with those tools, you tend to have more better moments, and those better moments actually become better, more joyful, more happy, more peaceful. Your worst moments, you tend to have fewer worst moments because you're not reacting as strongly to them. And, they might not be your best moments, but they're certainly not as bad. So we get kind of a lowering of moments that maybe you screwed up. And the intensity of our negative emotion goes down. So we might get triggered, but the trigger that used to be a 9 tends to go down to a 2 or a 3 when we're using the PQ app. And also, things could happen and they occupy so much of your mental space. You're thinking about it, you're going over it again and again in your head. You think about it and the emotions come up again. And that could go on for days sometimes, especially with something big or frustrating or triggering that happened to you. But when you're using those PQ tools consistently, that amount of time engaged in something negative that happened tends to go down and down and down. And you begin to be able to do what all the best athletes do. You shake off those negative moments and you move right on. And so overall, it makes you incredibly more effective. And so how does it do that? Well, the tools that PQ teaches you are actually pretty simple. And that's one of the things that makes it so practical because it's not complicated to learn. And because it's not complicated to learn, there's not a lot of complexity to remember. And when you can easily remember the concepts and the tools, then you're more likely to apply them and practice them. And so you learn them pretty quickly, but it takes practice to start seeing the changes in your life. And the way the app and the program are designed, it's very easy to keep practicing because everything you practice only takes a minute or two. So the app was designed, the program was designed with the idea that most of us are really busy and we don't have the time or the energy to make big changes. But if there was something that only took a couple minutes to practice that would give us really great results, we could do that. We could work that into our day. And there's 3 main things that the app teaches you about and has you practice. One is PQ reps. And PQ reps is a way to get into your body and reprogram your neural pathways so that you can calm down more quickly and you can live in a more grounded, calm space. Identifying and intercepting saboteurs. There's a saboteur assessment, a free saboteur assessment on the website, which is also included in your app. And very specific to you, it kind of helps you identify the way you tend to react to situations. And it gives you lots of really practical tools to change the stories that you tell yourself and to change how you get hijacked so you're not getting hijacked as much. And then they have you practicing with sage. And sage is really the state of being that you want to be in. It's your most effective state. It's a very confident state. It's a very happy state. And the energy that you emit when you're in sage infects everybody else in a positive way. You tend to be more effective. So that's what the PQ program and the app is all about. Let's talk for a minute about what has changed. I just want to show you a before and now screen. So before, the way they ran the program is it would start with a 6-week boot camp, and that would include your app on your phone and facilitated classes. Now, the classes are all in the app, but you tended to work with a coach or in a peer group to have discussions about the classes so that you could integrate, because just doing it in the app doesn't carry as well. Then after that 6-week boot camp, which sometimes was 7 weeks, sometimes was 8 weeks, depending on the extra classes that we would add in. But after the boot camp, then you would have an option to move into what they would call grow, which is kind of a month to month continuing to work with the tools in the application. And now how that's changed is they don't really have the month to month option so much anymore. So they really want you to work with the tools for a whole year, because that's how you're going to get really good, and that's how you're going to get your most benefit from it. And so there's still a boot camp component to it, but you do the boot camp as the first part of your 1-year journey. And then you continue to get custom application support throughout the year. So typically you're getting the app, and when you get the app, you're getting it for a year. And whatever program you're in that complements the app is also a year-long program. So we'll do the before again. Most of your work, most of all the work and all the concepts were taught in those initial 6 to 8 weeks. And because of that, once you got done, you were often kind of tired. You may have gotten a little bit behind, but you were very intense for 6 to 8 weeks. And then people often tended to disengage right after that. Some people continued on and continued with the program, but the way the program was designed, sometimes people would start feeling guilty as they would disengage, because just the way the app worked, they would see how many classes they had missed, their battery charge would be going down. And so because they were feeling guilty, that would cause them to disengage a little bit more. And it just required a little bit more internal motivation to stay engaged with the program. And that's one of the main things that they have changed in this new version. So in this new version, there's ongoing custom support each year throughout the whole year, and it includes incentives to stay engaged throughout the whole year. What that does is it also puts a lot less pressure on that first 6 to 8 weeks when you're doing the boot camp. It makes the learning in that boot camp more fun, and you feel a lot less guilty for missing something, because the way the app is organized and the way your learning is organized is you can catch up. So you can kind of enjoy those first few weeks of learning all the basic concepts. Then you can integrate them, but you have that whole year to really integrate and really get good at it and really see major changes in your life. So because of these changes, I've also changed how I am working with my clients with the app and with the program. So I used to do several boot camps throughout the year, and now I'm only going to do one refresh boot camp each year in July. And most of the people in that boot camp are going to be people who have already taken the program with me. And this is also the window where new people will join the program. So we have an integrated boot camp that includes new people and people that have already been in the program. And the way those classes work, they're very interactive, they're very discussion-based, they take each person where they are, and it's just a rich experience for the new people as well as the people that are coming back through the program. I'm also only opening a window once a year for people to purchase the app. Since the app is a 1-year purchase, we'll have people who want to purchase the app do that at the end of June, and then they'll do it for the whole year. And so every June, at the end of June, you can decide whether you want to renew your app or not. And you'll have that option, and then new people can come in, and we'll always do a refresh boot camp kind of right there in July. Now, I have 2 group programs. I have my advanced group program, and I have a new alumni growth program. And everybody in my group programs will automatically have access to that boot camp. In other words, they won't be paying extra for the boot camp, their subscriptions to their monthly group program will cover the boot camp. And so everyone will go through it and everyone will have the concepts and the language and be able to talk PQ and practice and apply PQ. So because I include the PQ refresh with my group program, what I do is I sell the app separately from the group program, which means theoretically you could just buy the app and not do the group program, or you could be in the group program and not purchase the app. I do recommend doing both because I think it's well worth it and it will accelerate your growth, which is why you're doing the program in the first place. It's one of the most powerful tools that we have for growth, and it's one of the most practical tools. So I highly recommend it, but I want to make sure that you feel completely free to make your own decision and not feel pressured. Like if I'm in the group program, I have to buy the app. So you don't have to do anything. We really want you to make the best decision for you, and everyone's different at different times. Let's talk about how everything is priced, just so you know what it will take in terms of investment for you. So before, I usually charged between $750 and $1,500 for the boot camp, and that kind of depended on if I was doing an 8-week or a 12-week program. And that boot camp included the app for those 8 weeks. And then now the boot camp I'm running is 3 months. And if you're not part of the group program, you would just do $250 a month. If you are part of the group program, if you're an alumni, then you can join the alumni group program, which is currently just $185 per month with a 3-month minimum. And that 3 months will cover your boot camp. So if you only wanted to join it for the boot camp, you could do that. When it comes to the app, the Grow app was $35 a month. And the way I sold the Grow app is I did it 6 months at a time. So any of you who kept your app active, you did it for $210 every 6 months, and then you just renewed it for $210 for 6 months. So that runs $420 per year for the app, but now I can offer the app for $350 for the whole year. So that's the only way I offer it now. You get it at the end of June for $350, or you don't. If you decide not to, then your next opportunity to get it will be again at the end of the following June for $350 for that year. So every year at the end of June is when you would make your decision. Before, if you wanted to do some kind of ongoing coaching or training related to positive intelligence after the boot camp, you either enrolled in something additional or you kept meeting with your group, but there wasn't a lot of official structure for you to be able to do that. And now the Alumni Growth Program, which is where I'm going to be doing the Refresh Bootcamp, it includes all sorts of ways to continue to work. So besides office hours, we have discussion groups and we have other boot camps, and there's always professional and personal development classes available so that the conversation will just naturally continue. And you'll be using positive intelligence tools as part of your self-development toolkit, which will also include things like the Enneagram and my belief system models and the needs models and possibly now some RIM training. And so if you're in the Alumni Growth Program, you automatically have a structure to continue practicing your positive intelligence. And especially right after the boot camp, in that first month after the 8 weeks, we'll make sure to have 2 application classes related directly to positive. The decision deadline is June 25th because I need time to set everybody up in the system before the end of June. The Refresh Bootcamp will start Wednesday, July 2nd. That will be your orientation session. So it's a 6-week boot camp, but I run it for 8 weeks. And the reason I run it for 8 weeks is because I always do an orientation the first week, and then I do the 6 weeks, and then there's always a bonus session at the end. So a 6-week boot camp really becomes an 8-week boot camp. But then it actually goes 3 months because in the following month, there will be 2 additional application classes. So it's really a 3-month program. The good news is that you don't have to feel like you're going to be missing out if you have to miss a couple of classes. I know it's summer. I would say aim to attend 6 out of the 8 classes at a minimum if you can. If you miss a couple, it's not a big deal. It's not as much of a big deal as it was last time because Now, again, you're going to have the whole year to integrate. So if you miss a class, you can still listen to it and integrate it as you continue to build on your skills over the whole year. The way to enroll is you just send me an email, or you can call or text me. So you'll just let me know what you want to do. And you are also welcome to set up a call to just discuss if it makes sense for you, or if you have any other questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure to let me know before June 25th. And I am really excited to be doing this new version of the boot camp with all of you starting in July. See you later.